I can give you
the convicted criminal sitting in the president. If you're going to start signing, now we like the DOJ.
Well, no, surely the point. Hang on, hey, look,
guys.
If I could just say,
hold on.
If I could just say, hang on one second, guys. I would simply look.
Also brought the DOJ also indicted Trump.
I would ask you both.
The DOJ also multiple.
Can I just ask, if you talk over each other, nobody can hear what either of you says. Just to remind you.
Well, I didn't interrupt Dan.
No,
I just want to say this. But he interrupted me 3 times in my first sentence.
Okay, look, just allow each other to respond.
Because you acknowledge, because you pointed at me.
In today's video, Mehdi Hasan absolutely destroys Piers Morgan and Dan Crenshaw in a heated debate on Donald Trump's corruption and the whole mess with Doge. Now, I don't always agree with Mehdi Hasan on everything, but when it comes to calling out hypocrisy and exposing weak arguments, the guy is a total machine. Crenshaw tries his usual tough guy routine. Piers plays the "I'm just asking questions" card, but Mehdi isn't having any of it. So let's dive in and watch how Mehdi Hasan shuts down Piers Morgan and Dan Crenshaw in this heated debate.
All you asked you were asked a simple question: what are the legal charges of corruption against Donald Trump? Go.
I didn't say anything about legal charges. The person who has well, there are many legal charges against Donald Trump. He's using the DOJ to make them go away, as you know, in a corrupt fashion. Piers showed us a clip at the top of the show. I don't think an American president has ever done what Donald Trump did yesterday. His top donor gave him hundreds of millions of dollars during the election. The New York Times is reporting that he just gave another $100 million to Trump political operations. And the president went out on the south lawn of the White House and turned the White House into a car dealership so he could help his top donor sell cars. I mean, that is astonishing on multiple levels. I've criticized Republican presidents in the past. I can't think of a single Republican president who's done something that so corrupt and pathetic on Musk's behalf, by the way, but corrupt on Trump's behalf, to do that for a donor, to sell cars on the White House lawn, to put out tweets saying, "I'm buying a Tesla." Yeah, for your top donor. If Joe Biden had done it, you would be screaming from the rooftops, as with your party, you'd be filing articles of impeachment. So give us a rest on the kind of patronizing stuff about exact language. Corruption is at the core of this Trump White House. Look at the crypto money. The guy is running. The guy just, Dan, the guy just pardoned. The guy just pardoned a crypto guy who the DOJ was investigating, who's put money into the Trump family crypto scheme. We could go down the list of all the various corrupt things he's done. On free speech, by the way, he's called for multiple journalists to be fired. President shouldn't be calling for columnists. Do you support him calling for Eugene Robinson to be fired? Do you support him calling for MSNBC to lose its licenses because he doesn't like it? I mean, this is absurd. No president has gone around and attacked journalists in the way that Donald Trump and Elon Musk have attacked journalists.
Well, actually, the biggest
attack, top guy in your administration.
Well, actually, before I go to Dan, hang on, Mehdi, don't just keep talking. Before I go to Dan,
I'm going to finish my point.
The president.
I'm going to finish my point. Elon Musk called for CBS journalists to be locked up in prison. Does Dan Crenshaw support the locking up of my fellow journalists?
All right, I'm going to come to Dan. I'll come to Dan now. Dan, respond to all that.
But political, first of all,
well, he did say it. Whether you remember or not is irrelevant. He said it, Dan. I don't remember it. That's going to be your defense. He said it. Well, he's the head of your government right now. He's the top guy.
He's a person who has the same rights to free speech as you do. Okay, and Democrats
do you support him calling for the locking up of journalists? I said there's a war on free speech. You said there wasn't. I cited a guy in your government who's called for the locking up of journalists. You wanted receipts. I asked
you for what you mean by corruption. You gave no legal arguments. So for you, corruption just means exactly what every president does, right? Which is supporting their.
Hold on. I'll give you an argument right now. I think, yes, I would like a Department of Justice that stopped pardoning people who have given money to Donald Trump and his family.
Now, first off, the fact that Dan keeps acting like he has no memory of what Trump has actually said and done is beyond ridiculous. Mehdi lays out the corruption point by point, from Trump using the White House lawn as a literal car dealership for his biggest donor, to pardoning a crypto guy who was under investigation while conveniently being tied to Trump's own crypto schemes. That's not just shady, it's textbook corruption. And then there's the free speech hypocrisy. Crenshaw and the GOP love to claim that the left is waging some war on free speech. Yet, here we have Trump and Elon Musk openly calling for journalists to be fired or even jailed just because they don't like what's being reported. If Biden had done even half of what Trump's been doing, the GOP would be in full meltdown mode, screaming impeachment from every rooftop.
Corrupt.
Would you like to stop? Well, would you like to stop Joe Biden also preemptively pardoning so many people, including half his own family,
I'm not
to
here to
prevent
defend
criminal
Joe Biden.
inquiries into them? I mean, this idea it's only Trump that would do that.
Dan Crenshaw's here to defend Donald Trump. You know, Piers, that I have many criticisms of Joe Biden, and one of them is, yes, his family and Hunter Biden. But what Joe Biden did pales into insignificance with what Trump has done in 2 months. I mean,
all right, well, let me ask Dan. Dan, on the
Elon Musk role. Elon Musk is an unvetted head of a government department.
Okay, let me ask Dan. Dan, when you saw the scenes on the White House lawn there, did you feel entirely comfortable for the reasons that Mehdi said? You've got someone who donated hundreds of billions of dollars, obviously, to Trump. He pretty much helped get him elected. He's now in there as an unelected guy with enormous power, it seems, over this DOGE thing that he's doing, popular with some, unpopular with others. But turning it in, as he said, to a Tesla sale room, did you feel comfortable that the White House was being used like that?
I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't feel uncomfortable with it. Look, first of all, let's say something. Every single person in the administration is unelected, and they have a great deal of power. The only person who's elected is President Trump. So everyone works for President Trump. I think there's a really strange sort of villainization of Elon Musk. Oh, he has too much power. He has this. He has whatever power the president decides to give him. First of all, let's say that. Also, there's a long history and precedent for presidents bringing in their supporters to the White House. Joe Biden gives out medals of freedom or whatever those things are called to various celebrities who have helped him, to various big donors like the Soros family who have helped him. How is this any different? Now, you could argue you don't like it or do like it, but there's a ton of precedent for it. Every ambassador let's talk about the ambassador in the United Kingdom. It is every single time. It is not somebody who's been at State Department for a long time. It is always somebody of the president's choosing. That's who it is. It is usually someone who is friendly with the president. Does that make it corrupt? I don't know. It's not legally corrupt, but that is what happens. Okay. It's normal for every president, and you just make it. You for some reason see it through a different lens when Trump does the exact same things that Biden would do.
And Mehdi, let me ask you about
Elon
Musk.
Biden having people at the White House.
Hold on, can I respond?
Now, Crenshaw's argument is basically, well, presidents always bring in their supporters. Yeah, sure, presidents reward allies with positions or influence. Yeah, sure, presidents reward allies with positions or influence. But there's a massive difference between handing out a Medal of Freedom and putting a billionaire mega donor in charge of a major government function with zero oversight. And let's not pretend like Musk is just a friendly face dropping by the White House for a chat. He has power, real power. And the fact that he used that power to turn the White House lawn into a Tesla showroom? Come on, if Biden did this for a major donor, the GOP would be screaming about corruption until they turned blue.
Mehdi, I would ask you this. But Mehdi, do you have, intrinsically, Mehdi, do you have a problem with Elon Musk and the DOGE campaign to eradicate federal government waste, superfluous spending?
Right.
Do you have a problem intrinsically with the concept of what they're doing?
So this keeps happening now. Dan says something and then you add something, so I can't deal with multiple things. I'm going to deal with Dan first. Dan says that this is all normal and we have precedent for it. Dan's being disingenuous. Elon Musk is running a government department. He is not vetted. He has not gone through Senate confirmation hearings like cabinet officials and ambassadors. George Soros has never led any kind of government department. If he did, Republican heads would explode. He's never run anything in government, nor is Alexander Soros. Musk is literally standing next to the president. He is telling cabinet cabinet secretaries what to do. He's attending cabinet meetings. They're going to court. Dan's not telling you this, but there's literal court cases going on right now to determine the status of Elon Musk and Doge. And by the way, government lawyers are telling the judges he's not the head of Doge. Donald Trump stood in front of Congress and said he is the head of Doge. Maybe Dan can tell us today if Elon Musk, who hasn't been vetted by Congress, is the head of Doge. What's so sad to see is members of Congress like Dan just completely abdicating their responsibilities as a co-equal branch of government and deferring to both Donald Trump and Elon Musk. That's kind of embarrassing to see. And I haven't finished my point. I didn't interrupt you. So when I finish, you can come back in. I know it's 2 against 1, so let me deal with Piers now. Piers, on Doge itself. Yes, I have a problem. Well, we're both throwing stuff at me at the same time, so let me deal with them. Yeah, poor me. It's fine. I'm used to it. Piers is asking me about Doge. Let me deal with Doge. Doge is a joke of an outfit, right? Do we all want to get rid of waste in government? Of course I do. I did a long monologue on my show about why we should deal with the Pentagon, which fails an audit every year and wastes billions and trillions of dollars, right? I want to deal with corporate welfare. I want to deal with people who, have conned the government. Of course we do. But that is not what Doge is doing, right? Doge is a joke, chaotic outfit. It claims to have found fraud, Piers, not just waste, fraud. And yet Dan gave me a lecture on precise terms. Fraud? Has anyone been charged with fraud? That's a crime. Elon Musk has found no fraud. Because if he had found fraud, people would be arrested or charged by the DOJ right now. We've seen no evidence of fraud. So that's been a lie from Musk. As for waste, you know this, Piers. You've talked about it on the show. $8 billion they claimed to have found. It was $8 million. They said they found $250 million of waste at the Social Security Administration. It was $500,000. They triple counted a $665 million contract. The Wall Street Journal, that lefty bastion, has found so many mistakes and exaggerations in what they found. They've been absolutely harming the US government. They got rid of people who were looking after nuclear weapons and then tried to hire them back. They got rid of people who were trying to fight Ebola and then tried to hire them back. They got rid of people who were trying to fight bird flu and then tried to hire them back. They fired veterans at the Department of Veterans Affairs who were manning the crisis line for veterans. Dan is a veteran, served the country, should be outraged. And then they tried to hire them back too. The whole thing is a disaster and a joke.
Okay, Dan.
I want to say one thing about the having automakers at the White House. In August of 2021, Joe Biden had a bunch of automakers celebrating electric vehicles at the White House. He left out one in particular because he's not a political ally. He left out Tesla, one of the biggest makers of EVs. So again, this stuff happens.
Now let's talk about Doge and these so-called savings that Musk and his MAGA defenders are bragging about. The actual amount of waste Doge has found is honestly laughable. They claimed $8 billion, but it just turned out to be $8 million. They hyped up $250 million in social security waste, but it was actually $500,000. These numbers keep getting debunked by actual journalists, including the Wall Street Journal, which is far from some left-wing publication. And Dan tries to pivot and bring up how Biden snubbed Tesla from an EV summit in 2021, as if that's some kind of equivalent scandal. Look, Biden favoring his allies over his enemies in PR events is standard politics. It's not the same as literally handing over control of a government department to a billionaire donor. One is political pettiness. The other is straight up corruption. At the end of the day, Mehdi completely dismantles their arguments. Doge is a total mess. Musk has no business running a government department, and the GOP's defense of it is just another example of how they excuse corruption when it benefits them. But do you know who else is corrupt? Biased media outlets. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.